What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Buzz. Islam Makhachev has officially shut down any plans of moving to the middleweight division. As we head into one of the most anticipated fights of the year, Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena, the lightweight champion made it clear that he's not chasing a third title. During the recent rooftop face-off, fans got their first real look at both fighters ahead of the big matchup. The tension was high, and excitement is building as Islam moves up to welterweight for this monumental fight. Many in the MMA community have been impressed by Makhachev's recent body transformation, sparking rumors that he could potentially compete at 185 pounds someday. However, Makhachev has put those talks to rest. In a conversation with Josh Thompson on the Weighing In podcast, Islam was asked if he could see himself moving up to middleweight in 2026 to chase a third championship belt. Makhachev immediately dismissed the idea, saying, 185? I'd have to be fat for that. It would be too hard. That's not my natural weight. Honestly, those guys are just too big. It's a statement that shows his focus remains sharp and realistic. While the idea of becoming a three-division champion sounds appealing to fans, Makhachev knows his limits and is intent on dominating at welterweight instead. What stood out even more from the interview was his loyalty to Khabib Nurmagomedov. Islam revealed that his mentor's word means everything to him. Khabib is like my older brother, he said. If he told me to stop fighting tomorrow, I would. He's the one who takes care of all of us in the gym and always wants the best for us. It's this deep respect and discipline that define Makhachev's journey, a fighter grounded in humility, guided by loyalty, and laser-focused on his craft. While the MMA world debates his future weight classes, Islam Makhachev remains committed to his current mission, conquering the welterweight division and building on the legacy he and Khabib have built together. With his skill, composure, and the support of Team Khabib, Makhachev's story continues to unfold, not as a chase for multiple belts, but as a pursuit of greatness within his true division. Please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for latest MMA updates. We truly value your support and need your help to grow. Move on to another news. Kamaru Usman has responded to Islam Makhachev's recent call-out and shared his thoughts on Ilia Topuria, potentially jumping the line for a title shot at welterweight. Speaking with Submission Radio, the former welterweight champion addressed several major topics, giving honest opinions on both Islam's upcoming fight and in his own position in the division. Usman began by breaking down the highly anticipated matchup between Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena, calling it a razor-close fight. He acknowledged that while many believe Islam can only win through takedowns, that narrative is misleading. According to Usman, Makhachev's striking has become a serious weapon, referencing his knockout of Alexander Volkanovski and his knockdown of Charles Oliveira before submitting him. Even without his wrestling, Islam can outstrike a lot of guys, Usman said, crediting the Dagestani champion's evolution as a complete mixed martial artist. Usman also addressed his own resurgence after a strong win over Joaquin Buckley, a victory that snapped Buckley's impressive streak and reminded fans why Kamaru remains one of the best to ever compete at 170 pounds. While some argue that other contenders may deserve the next title shot, Usman believes his legacy and performance speak for themselves. Had Buckley done what he said he was going to do and finish me, then sure, he'd be next for the title. But that didn't happen. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm still next in line, he said confidently. When asked about Makhachev's call-out, Usman acknowledged the magnitude of such a potential fight. Islam is a former pound-for-pound #1, and I was there too. I don't think we've ever had two pound-for-pound greats compete against each other in their primes. That would be a blockbuster fight, he noted. Despite the respect, Usman made it clear he's not overlooking anyone, whether it's Makhachev or Topuria. Addressing the possibility of Ilia Topuria skipping the line for a welterweight title shot, Usman was composed. If Ilia wants Islam, it is what it is, he said. They'll do that fight if the UFC wants it, but I still believe I'm the rightful next contender. Calm, confident, and calculated, Usman continues to position himself as one of the sport's most respected veterans, a fighter who has done enough to demand attention but remains ready to prove it again if necessary. Move on to another news. Dricus du Plessis has finally broken his silence following his brutal loss to Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 319, marking his first major statement since that devastating defeat. The South African middleweight admitted that the loss was tough to digest, but used the opportunity to share his thoughts on the upcoming fight between Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena. And he's firmly backing Makhachev to win. In his interview, Du Plessis explained why he believes the lightweight champion has the upper hand. "If you look at Islam's opponents compared to Jack's, it's not even close," he said. "Makhachev has beaten a who's who of elite fighters. He was pound for pound #1 for a long time, and there's a reason for that. He's strong, technical, and ruthless as ever." Despite acknowledging Jack Della Madalena's skill and charisma, Du Plessis doesn't see him getting past Makhachev. "People think Jack will be the bigger guy, but I don't agree," DDP added. "That's why Islam and his team spent such a long time building up the weight properly. He looks big, thick, and strong. You can see how disciplined he's been in this camp." He praised Della Maddalena's personality and style, but made his stance clear. "I love Jack's fighting spirit. I love watching him compete, but honestly, I can't go against Islam in this one. He's just so good. I don't think moving up in weight will slow him down. In fact, I think he's going to be even better at welterweight." As for Du Plessis himself, he acknowledged that the road back won't be easy. Following the dominant performance from Chimaev, DDP has kept a low profile, focusing on rebuilding and planning his return. The UFC is reportedly eyeing matchups with either Brendan Allen or Caio Baralho for his comeback fight in 2026, both challenging opponents that could help him re-establish himself among the top contenders. A rematch with Chimaev, he admits, is off the table for now. "After what happened, I know I have to earn that kind of fight again," he said. "It's about rebuilding, getting big wins, and reminding everyone that I'm still one of the best." Du Plessis remains determined, motivated, and realistic about the road ahead, understanding that redemption in the UFC requires consistency, finishes, and patience. And while he's focused on his own path, he's made it clear that in the current landscape, Islam Makhachev is still the man to beat. Move on to another news. Dana White is once again facing heat from the MMA community, this time over accusations that he faked engagement numbers for his controversial venture, Power Slap. The UFC president recently claimed that the latest Power Slap event pulled in record-breaking viewership, even comparing its numbers to college football and MLB playoff broadcasts. But fans and analysts aren't buying it. The controversy began when an X, formerly Twitter, account posted a breakdown of Dana's claims. According to White, Power Slap had achieved 10 million views on YouTube, surpassing major sporting events like Miami versus Florida in college football, which drew 6.3 million viewers, and the Dodgers playoff game, which pulled 3.65 million. The post identified Power Slap 15 as the likely event Dana referenced, noting that the video in question indeed shows 10 million views, but only 5.8 key likes and around 645 comments. That's where things got suspicious. Critics immediately pointed out the massive gap between the number of views and the low engagement metrics. 10 million views but only 5.8k likes and 645 comments? Make it make sense, one user wrote. Others accused Dana of using bots or paid promotions to inflate view counts, with comments like, "Those numbers scream fake engagement," and "YouTube ads don't count as real views." Fans also argued that comparing Power Slap clips to live sports broadcasts is misleading. Those are 3-hour televised games with audience measurement, not algorithm-driven short clips, another user commented. Many concluded that the likely explanation is Power Slap using YouTube advertisements to boost exposure. When videos are promoted as skippable ads, they can generate millions of impressions but result in very low likes and comments, since viewers rarely engage with ad content. Still, Dana White has stood by his claims, continuing to defend Power Slap as a growing brand that's pulling global attention. But the numbers don't seem to convince the public. The event's seemingly inflated stats, combined with the lack of genuine interaction, have only added fuel to the skepticism surrounding Power Slap's true popularity. Whether this is a case of algorithmic inflation or deliberate PR exaggeration, one thing is certain: fans are calling out Dana White to back up his claims with transparency. For now, the debate continues, as Power Slap remains one of combat sport's most controversial experiments. Move on to another news. Tsarukyan has voiced serious frustration with the UFC openly criticizing how the promotion treats Russian fighters compared to others on the roster. In a recent video posted to his YouTube channel, the rising lightweight contender didn't hold back, expressing dissatisfaction with both his stalled fight negotiations and what he describes as unequal treatment from the organization. When asked why he continues to call Dan Hooker a clown, Tsarukyan revealed that his upcoming fight with Hooker still hasn't been finalized, even though the interview took place in November. "He says one thing then another," Arman said. "First he agreed to fight me in June, then changed his mind. June passed a long time ago and he still hasn't signed the contract. So yeah, he's a clown." However, Tsarukyan's comments quickly turned from frustration with Hooker to a broader criticism of how the UFC handles fighters from Russia. He claimed that while many non-Russian fighters are given choices about who and when they fight, Russian athletes have no such freedom. "They have a choice," he said. "It's only us who don't. Fighters from Russia do what the UFC tells us. If you refuse one fight offer, you get blacklisted." Translated from Russian, Arman's statement paints a concerning picture of potential bias in matchmaking and treatment. He suggested that the UFC applies different standards depending on a fighter's nationality, putting added pressure on Russian athletes to accept whatever bouts they're offered, or risk losing opportunities entirely. This isn't the first time a fighter has publicly questioned the UFC's internal politics, but Tsarukyan's comments have struck a chord within the MMA community. Many fans believe his criticism highlights an ongoing issue of fairness and negotiation power among fighters, particularly those coming from regions with fewer promotional privileges. Arman's situation also reflects growing frustration among high-level contenders who feel stuck waiting for fights, while others with larger fan bases or media pull get prioritized. Despite his impressive performances inside the octagon, Tsarukyan seems to believe he's being treated as expendable rather than as a legitimate title contender. As for now, his fight with Dan Hooker remains unsigned, and uncertainty continues to cloud his next move. But one thing is clear: Arman Tsarukyan isn't staying silent anymore. Move on to another news. Daniel Cormier is not happy with Jon Jones following his recent remarks about Tom Aspinall. After Aspinall's no-contest result against Cyril Gane at UFC 321, Jones took to social media to criticize the interim heavyweight champion, claiming the fight proved that Aspinall was overhyped and a on-trick pony. Those comments didn't sit well with Cormier, who fired back at his longtime rival during an episode of the DC and RC podcast, calling out Jones for being unnecessarily harsh. Cormier argued that it was unfair to judge Aspinall's skills based on a fight that lasted only 4 minutes and ended under controversial circumstances. The bout was stopped after Aspinall informed officials he couldn't continue due to 2 accidental eye pokes from Gane. While Gane did land some clean shots early that bloodied Aspinall's nose, the incident left too little time to assess either fighter's performance. "Maybe Tom Aspinall isn't what Jon built him up to be in his mind before the fight," Cormier said. "But I don't think we saw enough to form a real opinion of his overall game in just 4 minutes. That's the truth. Is Jon Jones being too harsh? Can we really make such a strong judgment off such a short fight? Doesn't Tom deserve a little grace?" Cormier went on to point out that fighters can turn things around even after early struggles. "How much can you really struggle in 4 minutes?" he added. "He got a bloody nose and people suddenly thought he was in trouble. But there were still 21 minutes left in the fight. Look at Khabib Nurmagomedov. He lost a round to Justin Gaethje before coming back to dominate and submit him. Fights can change completely between minute 4 and minute 25. DC also implied that Jones' comments had more to do with personal rivalry and less with genuine analysis. "Jon loves to take shots at people who get attention," he said. "When he sees someone like Aspinall getting praise, he feels the need to tear them down. That's classic Jon." Cormier's defense of Aspinall echoed a sentiment shared by many fans, who believe it's premature to criticize the British heavyweight after such an abrupt and inconclusive ending. While Aspinall recovers and looks forward to his next bout, it's clear that the tension between Cormier and Jones, one of MMA's most intense rivalries, remains as alive as ever. Move on to another news. During a lighthearted yet competitive exchange, Khabib Nurmagomedov and Daniel Cormier were once again seen trading playful jabs, this time reminiscing about their careers and friendship. Khabib, never one to hold back, began teasing Cormier by recalling the year 2018, calling it his best year ever. He proudly reminded DC that he became champion defended his title in the biggest fight in MMA history and asked. With a grin, he continued, "No, it wasn't you, DC. There was no double champ that year. I was better." Cormier, laughing, tried to brush it off, but Khabib kept pushing the banter further. He brought up one of their most emotional moments, the day DC retired. "You know what the best moment was?" Khabib said. "When you retired in Abu Dhabi, you talked, and when you left the octagon, your last words were, 'DDC, I love you, brother.'" Cormier immediately denied it, laughing loudly. No, I never said that," he insisted. But Khabib didn't let him off the hook. "I swear you said this. 1000% you said, 'DDC, I love you, brother.' Those were your last words in the octagon," Khabib claimed, smirking as DC shook his head. Their playful argument continued as Cormier joked that he would have to go back and check the footage. "I'll check this myself," he said. "Don't change it, don't twist it." But Khabib doubled down. No, you said it. I heard it with my own ears." Both men burst into laughter, enjoying the banter that showed the genuine bond and respect between them despite their constant teasing. Khabib then switched gears slightly, recalling another funny moment when Cormier acted as his translator during a post-fight interview. "You remember that time I did the interview, and you translated?" Khabib asked. "You said something I didn't even say. I told you, you can't do this." DC laughed, admitting he might have added his own flair to the translation. "That's why this guy always brings me like this," Khabib said, shaking his head with a smile. Their chemistry and humor once again highlighted why fans love watching these two legends interact, not only for their fighting accomplishments but for their brotherly connection and good-natured rivalry that continues to entertain MMA fans around the world.